All right, so we're going to bring our feet out to this side. Make sure they're underneath our hips. We're going to bring our hands up. There she is. I was worried if you weren't going to make it. Place your hands up into the ceiling. Drop your shoulders. Breathing in, breathing out. And just focusing on your feet. Make sure that they're turned in if they're turned out. Make sure that they are underneath your hips. Make sure that your weight is balanced in the center. So just kind of shift your weight side to side and see if your weight just a little bit. Your hips aren't that far apart. And then just sway back and forth. And then we're going to go up onto our toes. Just relax. And then come down. Breathe in up on our toes. And exhale. Inhale up on our toes. And exhale. Inhale up on our toes. And exhale. Last time, inhale up onto our toes. And exhale. Bringing our hands down. We're just going to do a nice stretch for our shoulders. All right. Then we're going to bring our hands back up, relaxing our hands. And now we're going to just sway to the side. Hold that stretch for about 3 seconds. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And your goal is to relax those shoulders and imagine that you're holding a beach ball in your hands. So you're trying to make sure that that shoulder is not turned in, but that it's turned out so that eventually you want your ear to your elbow. So relaxing in and back up. And the up, opposite direction, and up, and relaxing, bringing those arms down. We're just going to do a nice, bigger weight. Are y'all okay with holding poses today? Okay. Because I had planned on some balancing poses today and some holding poses. So I don't want to hold anybody too long if they've been overextending anything today. And breathing up, exhaling, and we're going to twist. And you're just going to twist to one side, looking over your shoulder. And this is a good chance to see if you see your elbow, you need to push it back a little so that you don't see your elbow right in front of your face. And exhale to the other side. Inhale. This way, if your hands get tired, you're more than welcome to do this. And exhale. You do not have to keep your hands over your head. That is not a requirement. And relax. And other side. And last time. And relax. And now we're just going to bring our hands down and just and relaxing. Now we're going to switch over to one foot. This is where if you need a chair, you can grab one. But for right now, if you don't have a chair, you're just going to bring your foot like this, starting off. This is where you want to make sure that you're balanced. If you feel any wobble in your foot on this side, you want to stay right here. You don't want to go any further. The goal is to get balance on this. It is not about lifting all of this, do that. That's not the goal. The goal is to get this all nice and strong. So you want this side to be nice and strong. So you're going to make sure that that foot's planted, and then you just slowly lift your foot up to whatever level you need to lift it at. You can flex your toe or point your toe. If you've been standing all day, you may want to point your toe. If you've been sitting all day, you may want to flex your toe, just depending on how your day has gone. You can hold your knee if you want to, if it feels better. Hold it up and you can get a little bit better stretch. You want to find a focus in front of you, balancing on that, and just holding that pose, relaxing in and out, breathing in, breathing out. And then when you can, you're going to just bring it back down, leaving that toe on the ground, and do it just a and then and your goal when you're rolling is to feel the floor on all of your little toes. That's the goal, like you're grinding up a roach. That's how I imagine. I'm killing that poor little roach that happened to decide to come into my house. All right, and then switching to the other side. Once again, making sure that you're nice and balanced, breathing in and out, relaxing everything. And then when you're ready, you just lift your foot up to whatever level you can. You've been standing all day, you can point. You've been sitting, you can flex, whatever you want to do. And then you can reach underneath your hand to give yourself another better support and just pull up that deeper. And relax down. And on this side, you can imagine that you're drinking some wine. Just relax. And then the other way. All right. We're going to step down over here to the other thing, and we're going to do our poses. We're going to start back in the mountain with our feet nice and spread. We're going to bring our arms up, going up, relaxing, going into Egyptian chair, which is sitting in a chair. So imagine that you're sitting in a folding chair. So you're going to bend over a little bit and sit in that chair and relax into it, holding that pose for about 3 seconds. You're going into flat back, which is your hands should be by your ears. You may need to bend your knees a little. That's perfectly fine. But the goal is to have this back flat, so you may have a little arch in your chest. Then you're going to drop that hands down to the floor for the forward bend. Relaxing into it. The goal is not to try to touch the ground, but to relax the back. That's the goal. Dropping your head, and then you're going to just slowly roll back up. We're going to do that 2 more times. Bringing our arms up over our head, dropping our shoulders, going into the Egyptian chair. Hold that for about 3 seconds. Going into flat back, holding that. Remember, you need to bend your knees a little. And then going into forward fold. And then slowly rolling back up. Last time. This time we're going to hold a little longer. So we're bringing our hands up. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Focus on your body and how it feels. Any tension, any stress. Notice where that is. And then slowly going into the Egyptian. And notice how your body changes when you go into the Egyptian. Where do you feel the tension now? Where do you feel any stretch? If you feel a burn, stop. You're not supposed to feel any discomfort to that level. You're just supposed to feel an acknowledgement that you're moving your body, but it should not be painful. And going into flat back. Again, holding for a few seconds. Breathing in and out. And then dropping down, relaxing. And now while we're here, we're going to just do a nice figure 8. Just a nice figure 8. Slowly. And then slowly rolling back. All right. We're stepping into warrior 1. So you're going to just step out into warrior 1. Make sure that this foot is out at a 45-degree angle. You're going to make sure this knee is bent. You want to try to have it bent enough that you feel a good stretch here and a good stretch back here. You do not want your knee over your foot because then you're stretching in this area. And this is where we actually want to feel the stretch here and here. We don't want to stretch too far this way. That's a different stretch. Okay, we're going up into warrior, so that's bringing our arms up. The goal of warrior is to get your breast over your knee. So you should be turning that chest in so that this breast goes over this knee. Once again, do not hurt yourself. That's the goal, not the desired effect of pain, though. Not at this desire. Whatever. Y'all know. No pain. All right. And then you're going into warrior 2, which is where you turn out facing the other person or me. Make sure that your palms are either face up or face down, whichever way you want to do it. Make sure your fingers are nice and wide and spread out so that they are engaged. And then you're going to arch back at the leg that is straight, looking up at the hand. So you get a nice, good arch stretch. And then you're going to go all the way down to put your elbow on your knee and look up at the other hand. Once again, try to make sure everything's engaged. And then we're coming back up into warrior 1. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Warrior 2. Arch back. And going down, looking up at the head. And coming back into warrior. Warrior 2. Arch back. And then arch down. Looking up at your hand. And then we're going to come back up into warrior 1. And this time, if you can, you're going to just step up all the way up. Perfect. And then you're going to just step back with the other leg and go into warrior 1. Make sure you get nice and comfy. Try to make sure that your pose is where it feels comfortable. We're just going to hold this pose for a few seconds. Breathing in and breathing out. And then we're going into warrior 2. Make sure everything's open. Make sure your fingers are nice and spread. Then you're going to arch up, look at the hand, and then fold down Bringing your hand to your knee. And come up into warrior one. Once again, warrior two. Arch. Back. And arch down. Or pull down. And come back up into warrior one. One last time. Warrior. Arch back. And down. And back up into warrior one. And this time, you're going to step up again and relax. We're going to turn sideways now to triangle. Bringing our arms up. We're going to start with the forward fold. So you're going to go flat back. Once again, make sure your hands are nice now. And you want to try not to bring your hands back here like this. You want to try to have them up here to the side. So just turn your head side to side. You don't want to lock your knees and you don't want to push your butt out. So you want your knees to be slightly bent so that your butt is not being forced out. You're not pulling back here on these. And then you're going to just drop your hands down, relaxing on the mat if you can. And then we're just going to walk one hand over to the right. And then walk one hand over to the left. Come back into the center. And we're just going to roll all the way up. Bring our hands behind us and salute. Going back into flat back. Dropping them hands down. Walk into the right. Walk into the left. Back into the center. And then slowly rolling up. Slowly. And flat back. Last time for this. Drop down the hands. Rotate to the right. Rotate to the left. Back into the center. Notice if your hands are further down now. And then slowly rolling back up. Salute this. And relax. Going down into a nice squat. We're going to just bring our hands up to prayer. Closing your eyes. We're just going to hang out here for about 10 seconds. Breathing in. Breathing out. Now we're going back to the mat. We're going to go into downward dog. So we're going to bring our hands up over our head. Go into what's called diver pose, which is bring your hands behind your back. You're looking up at your mat, looking down at the side like you're going to dive into the pool. You're going to go up onto your toes and jump into the water into downward dog. All right, make sure that your feet are a little spread apart so that you're nice and comfortable. Push back into your shoulder blades, down into your feet. Make sure that you're nice and comfortable. If it's a little bit strained, you need to come up a little bit. If you need to go out a little bit, go out a little bit, just wherever it's comfortable. Remember, we're not here to torture ourselves. We're here to relax. All right. Then we're going down into plank, which is a push-up. Go down into crocodile, which is all the way onto the floor. And then we're going up into cobra. Okay, come into table, which is looking like this. And then we're going to roll back up into downward dog. So that is the sequence we're doing. So downward dog, plank, crocodile, cobra, table, and then back into downward dog. Last time. We're going to hold this for about 10 seconds, breathing in, breathing out, allowing ourselves to stretch into this position. And then going into plank. Hold this for a few seconds so that we can build up some strength. These are good strength building. And go down into crocodile. And then coming up into cobra. You do not have to try to force yourself to come all the way up. If you can stay in Sphinx. And then going into table. All right, staying in table. We're going to do a balance. We're going to lift up our right leg, flexing our toe, making sure that that leg is nice and flexed. Holding that. Try to make sure that we're not hurting our wrist. Make sure there's not any pain in the wrist and that we don't have any pain in the knee that's on the floor. Then if you want to get fancy, you can bring that foot and try to hit your butt on the other side. If you want to be fancy. And relax down. And ready, we're going to bring the other leg up. Flex that toe. Breathing in and out. And then try to touch your butt on the other side. And relax. Now we're going to do our hands with our legs. So you're going to lift up your right leg, flex it, and lift up your left hand. And relax. Just kind of move around if you need to. And we're going to switch to the other side. And relax. And then we're going to just slowly slide down into child pose. We're going to stay here for a few minutes. I want you to nice and relax, get comfortable, close your eyes, focus on the sounds around you until you can focus on your breath. Starting from the sounds that are far away, you're going to acknowledge them. And then as they get closer to you, just label the sound. Until you get to the breath, it should be the sound that's the closest to you. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly come up onto our knees. Relaxing into your arms. Bring our arms up and then do eagles. So our arms are going to cross over. Then you're going to bend your elbows. You're going to wrap your hands around until they come together. And then you're focusing on the center of those hands together. Breathing in, allowing yourself to rest. If you can't stay in this position, then go into a different one so you're comfortable. And relax. And we're going to do the opposite side so that whichever one was in front goes below. And then you twist. Breathe. And relax. Sliding onto our side. We're going to bring our feet in front of us. We're going into stack position, which is hands are beside your side on your hips. Your feet are flexed. You're just going to lift your toes off the mat just a little bit. Put pressure on your hands, sitting up straight. The goal is to try to sit up straight. The hands beside your hip and lifting your feet up off the mat just a little. This is really good if you're a sloucher. And relax. Pointing those toes, bringing those hands in front. You're going to just imagine as you're breathing, slowly trying to get down to your toes. Just slowly walking a little bit at a time towards your toes. You don't have to worry about bending your back. That's more trying to get your chin over your feet. That's how you can stretch those hamstrings better. If you're focusing on getting the chin over the hips instead of bending the back. If you're bending the back, you're focused more on this part, and you want to focus on this. Just slowly walking those hands down your feet, breathing in and out. And relax. Bring your hands behind your back, and you're going to bring your butt to your feet. And then relaxing those hands down by your hips. Bring your head down, bring your feet out just a little bit if they need to be. You're going to roll up into bridge. So you're pressing into your palms, pressing into your shoulders, pressing into your feet, rolling up. And then rolling back down, relaxing onto the mat. Keeping your knees bent, closing your eyes. I want you to focus on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. And on your inhale, I want you to bring your right knee to your chest. And on the exhale, release it straight in front of you. Inhale to your chest. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now on the inhale, point your toe. Exhale, flex your toe. Inhale. Exhale. And just go at your own rhythm. Closing your eyes. Focusing on your breath and your rhythm. And this time when you inhale, you're going to exhale, bringing your foot up to the ceiling. And then inhale down. Exhale to the ceiling. And when you're ready on your exhale, you're going to bring your hands behind your knee. That is up, and then you're just going to circle your foot. Good. And then the other way. And then closing that knee to your chest, wrapping your hands up on the front side of the knee. You're just going to do a nice circle with the knee, a big circle with that. And then when you're ready, put that knee back down and notice the difference in how it feels. When you're ready, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. We're going to bring our left knee to our chest on the inhale, and on the exhale, straight out in front of us. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now you're going to just point your toes on the inhale, flex your toes. And this time on the inhale, exhale up to the sky. And this time, once you get into that exhale, and put your hands behind that knee and just pull that foot. And then go the other way. And then bend that knee close to your chest and do a nice circle. And then when we're ready, we're going to put that knee down on the floor next to the other leg. Bring our hands up to our side. We're going to inhale, we're going to bring our hands over our head. And then exhale, bring them back down to our hips. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. And once again, just going with your breath. And when you're done, bow your head, just relax. Bring your hands out to the side with your big palm up. You're going to take your right hand to your left hand on the breath, looking over your shoulder. And then on the exhale, you bring it back down. And then on the inhale, you bring the left to the right. And exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Last time. Leaving our hands out to our side, we're just going to sway our knees side to side, gently with our breath. Same with the arms. Inhale, and then exhale. Just shifting side to side. And then when you're ready, you're just going to drop those knees to one side to let them stay there. Allowing yourself for that nice big breath. Breathing in, breathing in. And then when you're ready, roll to the other side. Come on, just rest on that. And then when you're ready, you can bring your feet back up to the center, laying your straight onto the mat into corpse pose, placing your hands onto your stomach, closing your eyes, and focusing on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Noticing how your chest moves. funny. How did it give you that sensation of feeling? Maybe just a little more, even if it was a little scary, or if it was a little frustrating, or maybe it made you a little tense. But it did give you uniqueness for today. Gave you an emotion that jolts you out of the average everyday life and bring you into life itself again and reminding you that you're human and that you're here on this earth, living, breathing, and feeling. You have no control of the outside, but we do have control of the inside. Through our breath, through our understanding of our own emotions, our understanding of where we're coming from at that moment in time. And then we give that understanding, the empathy to others, knowing that they too are just trying to make it through the day with their own emotions and feelings. As we're breathing in and out, one of the best breaths to bring us back into centering is the belly. We're going to breathe in to our diaphragm and then exhale. Breathe in nice and slow. Holding that breath and then exhale. Breathing in and then exhale. Moving up to our ribs. Breathing in and then exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. Moving up to our heart. Breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. I want you to think about the book Anna Green Day. Maybe you've seen the movie. But it's about a little girl who's an orphan. And she lives way back in the time when orphans were often taken into homes and treated like slaves. But she had a very positive outlook on life and a great imagination. And she can turn the most terrible thing into the most beautiful thing with her imagination. And one of the things that she always said was kindred spirit. And I want you to think of your kindred spirit, that person who makes your day wonderful. It may be your dog or your cat. But think of your kindred spirit right now. And I want you to imagine where you're at with your kindred spirit. Is it on the beach? On the lake? Is it in the forest? or the meadow, or maybe you're sitting in a car listening to the rain falling. Wherever you and your kindred spirit is, I want you to find them and relax into their wonderful presence. I want you to imagine what you're wearing for this kindred spirit, where you're at, how it feels, the colors and vibrance around you. And think about what this kindred spirit does for you and what they may say to you right now. What word of advice or uplifting quote that you may need from your kindred spirit. Hear it from them. Know that when you're breathing in, your kindred spirit is always there, waiting for you to just take a deep breath and bring them into you to give you the warmth and the strength and the courage that you need to face your day. For the love and hugs and comfort that you may need, or just someone to make you laugh and enjoy the day because it's just been one of those hilarious days. You need to get back to someone that you love. So they're always there in your mind, in your heart, and in your breath. Now focusing back on your breath, taking a deep breath in again and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. When you're ready, I want you to just squeeze your toes and then flex your toes. Squeeze your toes and flex your toes. Squeeze, flex, squeeze, squeeze, flex, squeeze, flex. And moving up to your hips, just roll them side to side, making your legs go side to side. Don't reach your legs left to right, waking up your feet. And then once you've done that, you bring your knees to your thighs and give yourself a nice big hug. And just roll back then when you're ready, slowly come up into easy pose. And turn your legs. Placing your hands on your knees. So just go roll our neck nice and slow from one side to the other. Nice and gentle. If you feel any tightness, any spot where you're like, oh, that kind of hurts, just stop right there and just go side to side very slowly in that one little spot. Just kind of work it out. And then when you feel like it's released, you can go back into your nice circle. And going the other way. And then when you're ready, you're going to come back up into the center. And we're just going to push back into our belly, squeezing back, pushing in our chin. And then we're going to come forward, bring our chin out of breath as it's going all the way down to the ground. And then rolling back up, squeezing everything in, and then flexing up as you go down. Coming back up, we're just going to bring our hands out in front of us, nice and slow. And you're just going to walk over to the right. And walk slowly. Just go back and forth a few times. Once again, if you find any spots, it feels kind of tight. Just back up a little bit. And then back into the center. Slowly coming back into the center. Bring our hands to our side. We're going to breathe in. Bring our hands up over our head on the inhale. And then on the exhale, we bring them back down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last time, inhale up. Bring your hands into prayer, coming down to your chest. And we're going to be very slow and